Wow. Look at this infinite timeline of infinity. Obviously, it only works when I have OBS up, but there we go. Right. Hopefully, all the levels and everything are okay with this. I think they should be. Let me just throw on some background ambience. For anybody who is not aware of what is about to happen, I don't need OBS anymore. I can go away. I am going to be streaming the build of the Cyberpunk 2077 Militech 9mm pistol. This is the gun used by the title character V. It's a signature one that she uses throughout the game. By the looks of things, you know, obviously we're still guessing at what a lot of the game entails. I'm just trying to be careful here because there is nudity in this video. No nips on Twitch. But yeah, it's the gun that she tends to be seen using throughout the game. There's a few bits kind of around here where you see her. Take it out. I'll just show you the gun if you're not aware of it. Now, I actually haven't started. Well, I've done like 5 minutes of just getting. So there, that's the gun. This is the gun we're going for. So the start of the process is always a matter of getting the right reference images. So I've been through this trailer more times than I can consider, and grabbed a bunch of different reference images. See that there? That's the thing you get on a trigger. I can't think what it's called. But anyway, this is how I'm going to be going about it. So I've grabbed a bunch of reference images, which I've dropped into a folder here. Just uploaded a load. So I've got the rear of the gun, sides, a few side views, view along the top. I'm sure I've got another one of those. That's the other side. Some of these buttons on and switch type things on there will probably make sense when I am figuring out what they all do. That shows me the front, which is really useful, and the underside. It shows that they're just cutaways at the bottom. There's nothing else in them. This one's really interesting. If we look at the bottom of the gun here, you can see that there's this bottom bit of the slide at the top of the gun. Actually, that when she pulls out to cock the gun, it's just that little bit at the back that comes out on these 2 rails. So that's a mechanism that I want to try and build into this. Now, as a starting point, I've actually grabbed this gun. So this is my 9mm Glock airsoft gun. So it's metal, it's heavy, it's roughly the same size as the one that she's using here. It's got the same kind of pullback mechanism, and there's a switch on the right hand side here. The switch that goes by the thumb, which you press to release, and then there's the switch at the top of the grip, which drops out the clip. So at the screen that we're looking at now, I'm assuming that that button by the thumb is the clip release. This one here, I'm assuming is the same as this one here, which is what you use. You pull that down on both sides, and that allows you to when I get it right, which allows you to take the entire top off. Yeah, it's not coming off. So that allows you to remove the entire top piece. I'm not too worried about that. This back bit will obviously come open, and then that's where you see spare bullets in here, which you use to get rid of blockages. So that's a piece that's going to have to work. And you'll see me flicking around between things. It doesn't matter if I'm not talking to anybody or if I'm talking to lots of people. This is going to go onto YouTube eventually anyway, so it's a good bit of process. So they're the main buttons you see on it. So when we're looking at the right hand side of it, there's something here. I'm not sure what that is, and I'm not sure what this is. I'm presuming this gun, when it's seen shooting, shoots full auto, so I'm presuming this is an auto switch here. So pew to pew pew. That one I'm not sure about. Anyway, so I have measured this gun, and it's 19 centimeters end to end, and the grip from the top here where the hand goes round to pretty much the midpoint of the base here. So basically the height of the hand grip is 9 centimeters. And that's about right. And looking at the pictures on the screen, I'd say that that scale is pretty much the same. So all I've done so far is taken that background image and I've created a block on the screen here, which is 9 centimeters high. Let me just check in OBS that that all fits on the screen. No, not quite. Let me just make sure I can size this so it's all going to be visible. Okay, I can go edge to edge, obviously. There we go. Okay, so this is 9 centimeters high from top to the bottom line. Let's see here. There. Oop. Inspect. There. That's 90 millimeters, and from side to side, well, you take my word for it, it's 19. So when I roughly scaled up this so I took this canvas, it's approximately side on, and rotated it, as you can see, so that it was roughly straight. And the placement of it, I actually put the top line here, and noticed that about midpoint of this bottom part again here is roughly 9 centimeters. So it seems like it's measured pretty accurately from an existing 9mm pistol. Just realised my laptop wasn't charging. Okay, which would have killed it quickly. So I just want to put some things out of the way so I can just keep an eye just in case the chat goes off. Okay, there we go, that'll do. Right, so now I need to start the basic shape, and you can roughly build it around this and then start to take some bits in. I'm going to try and think about a few different things as I go along, and I'm probably going to add more canvases as I go along, but I'll explain the process as I'm doing it. There'll be some times where I build something and then completely take it away, and I will be flicking quite a bit into different views to see the different reference images. For example, this, and then may well end it with Photoshop measurements as I go. So a lot of this kind of design is the research phase. So it looks to me that this part is probably flat end to end. It's a flat side in the same way that this is a flat side. So I can probably start with a cylinder. Now I already know this part at the end is going to have to be a separate piece because it's that. Similarly, this center part here, when you pull on one of these, that piece actually goes down and allows this piece to slide over the top of it. It looks to me that when she's pulling down on this one, you can see that chamber there. As she pulls back, it just pulls a piece backwards, so I don't think it does quite the same, and it already looks like it's a bit lower. So I can probably just do that in one piece and it'll just pull the chamber out, and I'll have a fake bullet in there. So I'm thinking this whole front bit, this is like a suppressor. Not suppressor, I don't know what they're called, but anyway, I think that front bit needs to be one piece. You can see ever so slightly spiraling on the inside of the pistol chamber, barrel even, which is pretty normal. A few bits of markings, I won't worry about those until I'm down a bit further down. I'm going to start off with this main body. I'm going to build up the proximate shapes together first, and then start cutting the more complex bits into it. So if the grip ends there, just going to start with chamber, so this back piece here, everything slopes forwards ever so slightly at the back. Looks like it goes straight down at the front, yeah, vertically down at the front, down here. Oh, no, that makes it look like it's straight down at the back as well. Do I put that down to perspective? See, this line here and this line here looks like they're parallel. But on here, it doesn't look like it's sloping forwards. Actually, it does ever so slightly, doesn't it? Okay, so let's start with a line at the point where the grip ends here. So I'm thinking slight forwards on both parts. Let's start by making this a little higher. Opacity, so I can see what's going on a bit more. I start by not that. Don't want to click on that. So there's this thing. If you're editing in Fusion like this, and you edit on something that's already exists, it will then consider the state that the document was in before that point. It can be awkward, but it does make sense. I said I'm going to start by roughly kind of drawing this thing out. Actually, I might want to just, because when you don't have a perfectly flat image, you have to consider perspective. So this is slightly cocked away. So I'm going to start by pulling this in here. So if that had a height of 30, that would be good. 3 centimeters. That's a nice, easy height. And then this would be 26, 27. So 26. Then that's got a right angle there that's locked, which I don't want. Just take this. What's it doing? It's because these are locked. These are locked to right angles as well. Okay. Wow, what's going on here? This is an unusual start because those were locked. Well, this is the most interesting start I've had here, because nothing seems to want to do what I want it to do. Move up and down, but it won't move itself left and right. It won't skew it. Okay. All right, no biggie. In that case, what I'll do is I'll that to be about there. And I can create a longer line here. Make it equal to this one. Let's get rid of these. Okay. So that's the start of that rear block. And the more I look at it, the more I'm not convinced that it's angled. It's great, we'll get back to it. so the height here was 30. So really, when you're doing your sketches, you want to do them as few parts as possible. By doing them in few, like one sketch can be responsible for one part. By doing it that way, then if you want to go back and you want to edit other stuff, then you're not kind of locked into your sketches too much. There are other things to consider. For example, this cutaway that goes all the way across the front happens in one piece. So when you originally do it, you're probably going to want to create these 2 points, like the rear piece and the front piece, at the same time, because then you can do the cutaway all at one piece. But then again, you know, to create this, we'll probably be creating a piece that then is used as an inverse to cut things out. So yeah, it might not even apply. Right. Regardless, let's keep going. So that's there. I'm going to put in this cutout, which is where the slide goes in. I'm going to just put that in before I go any further. So I'm thinking about here. I try to keep things as close to round numbers as makes sense. I think that's too high there. That's 0.1 degrees. Right there, 48. So usually I'll keep my numbers within 0.2 of a millimeter. 0.1 if you're 0.1 if you're going specifically accurate. But it depends how accurate you want to be when you're doing your modelling. So if I'm going to say that that's got a height of about 4. So if I from the end come back to and go up to make a circle right at 4. Go back on myself. So just slightly right. So there's a couple of cutaways here. This one's quite large. Say about 4. Yes, so 4 to 4. That's right. So we want a curve point from halfway there to 4 there. And this one's smaller. This one looks like it's got a similar kind of radius to this, so probably 2 by 2. No, I thought it might give me a right angle arc, but it didn't. 2 by 2. You can get rid of these corner bits, so I'm using T there, which is the trimming tool. It just trims any parts that you're not using. And these are actually curves. So what you then need to do is lock it so that there's a smooth transition from one curve, one straight line to the other curve. So what you do that by getting the tangent tool and clicking the 2 parts. Sometimes it's a bit weird. There you go. And then the same again over here. Usually it keeps the tool on. I don't know why it's not. Tangent tool. Okay. So that's that cutaway area, and this bit you can trim here should you need to. Don't really need to, but might be good to. Okay. So that's the start of this body. Now I'm going to need to reference a side piece here. So I need to figure out how wide is that based on the fact that I know this. And in order to do that, I'm going to just copy this image. I'm going to quickly open it up in Photoshop. And I'm enjoying a nice little glass of port. Because it's Sunday night and I'm classy. Okay, so new file. Copy, paste. Right. So I know, take this so it's pretty much vertical. So it's close enough. So let's give this pixels. So as I said, let's do it 300. I know my height is 3 centimeters or 30 millimeters, which is roughly right there actually, so that's pretty good. So based on the fact that this is what I don't have to resize this, I might have then had to resize it to make it maybe just a tiny bit smaller. There, that's better. Okay, so this is now the appropriate size that I can then use. Where are they? Ruler tool. Figure out that this width from widest point to widest point is 26 millimeters. So then if I come back into here, extrude symmetrically. There you go. I'm going to want 26, so half of that each side, 13 millimeters. There's the start of the body. Now you notice the sketch has disappeared. That's fine. So I'm going to just make the sketch come back, which is here, sketch 2. Sketch 1 was just for sizing, I don't actually need it. So I can go away. And here again, symmetrical 13. One thing you need to make sure is you do a new body, or in fact you can do a new component. Is something that you do a lot of, is creating new components, just because then when you're breaking it apart it makes it things like animation much easier to do. Because if you want to have things interact with each other and you want them to lock to vertices and slides and stuff, they need to be separate components. So that's now a component which is that bit, which is called the, let's call it the slide, and then this bit is the body, it's the barrel, or the chamber, I guess it's the chamber. So this cutaway applies to how it looks here, but in reality this whole center section is cut out. But that's a little bit more than I need to worry about right at this second. But I am going to create a component from the body. There's the chamber component. You should be able to, you should, so recently Fusion has done this thing where it just won't let me drag and change the positions of things, so wherever they are, that's where they stay. Which is a bit annoying, but I don't know what's causing it. So we've got a slide at the back, chamber at the front. This is the muzzle. I don't know what it's called. Right, so a chamber runs straight across the bottom. Where's my side on view? So my part comes to here, which runs parallel to here, which is good. There's a taper in at the bottom. Oh, notice on this side, this comes down further on the right. which is, yeah, so on my actual pew, there's nothing on this side, but there is a cutaway on this side, which has got a model number engraved into it. So that's something to realise. I'm still not sure what this little thing is here. Or what this one is. See, on this side it makes sense to be the release for it, but I haven't even seen how the gun reloads, or I wasn't paying attention when it was. Okay, that's fine so far. This is what I'm telling myself. So if I build the muzzle basic shape, then a lot of the rest starts to build itself off that. Just check my Facebook notifications, nothing of any real importance. So let's bring the chamber back in. I'll start a new sketch. This one's going to be for the muzzle. Let's go for 24. Like I said, there is going to be a lot of flicking back and forth. So for example, I was about to pull this bit further down, but so looking at all these reference images, it does actually go a tiny bit lower here, and it stays straight. Okay, so we'll go a little bit lower in here, but not much. 2mm. Then there's a 45 degree, so we hit the angle, so the bottom here is 90, want it to be there, so it's 135. Then just pick the distance, so that'll lock the angle. It's a little bit too large. 4.5. So if you want to then go in here and change this distance, you can change the distance here. I think 4.5 works. And then that's kind of curved. And this bit here that's a really unusual cutaway. That's going to be interesting. So if you want to maintain those, you can, or you can get rid of them. If you don't get rid of them, anytime you try to do anything, it'll ensure that those are maintained, so everything else will move relative to those points. Can be useful, can be a pain. Okay. I'll go across another 3.5, and then down 4, and then this will be a curve. Oh, where'd my curve go? Oh yes, of course. I'm pressing escape because it's a quick key I use a lot. But it doesn't like it when you do that. This one isn't actually going to be a tangent. This is going to just be... like that. Okay. So I think the front until this point here, which is level with here, just goes straight down. Oops a daisy. So let's just drop a straight line. That's where the muzzle's going to go. So that line, I believe, is on the same level as this point. So, which ones are we on about? The line across the bottom here is level with that lower in the side point. Which one's that? That one there. So that, yeah. So that line is level with this upper point here. Which is what I thought here. Cool. So again, let's just get rid of the bits we don't really need. So that'll take me to there. Then it comes in a bit. So for now, let's just figure out how far in I want this to come. 3 mil. I'm just going to drop it off the bottom. And then so 45 degrees, oh no, not 45 length, 45 degrees. 45 degrees. So let's remove these in case I want to shift this a bit, which I'm quite likely to want to do. So this muzzle has 2 parts, and it's got this little thing here. Not quite sure what that is, but so the muzzle is in 2 parts. It looks like it's probably a clip that clips the muzzle in place. Obviously with the perspective here, I'm dropped quite a bit lower. So this is not going to come down anywhere near this far, I don't think. I mean, I'm questioning whether or not this is too high. Just basing it on off other guns, but it's okay. It can easily be switched. What I might do actually is now shift these canvas. So let's stop that sketch for now. Can go back and re-edit it in a second. So I'm just lining this roughly up here. I'll go and start. Oh, why's it been a hole there? That's what I asked for. So there's this bit's a bit deceptive because this actually cuts away in like a reverse curve type thing. But it's otherwise pretty straight. So what I'm going to do, oh, why does that go there? draw around the edge of this thing. 7. 6. Something around here. Didn't put a length on that. That was a sensible length. 10.5, 10.6, 10.5 is fine. And block it off. That hasn't gone yellow, which means it's not a complete piece, so something's... This line isn't joined up. There we go. So that means now it's now a usable block, which is good. These cutaways here look a lot deeper in some pictures than they do in others. See there, they just look like they're cut-ins, which is what I suspect that they are. I expect that they're cut-ins at an angle rather than just straight. So otherwise, what is that? I do have the gameplay footage here. Let's go back a second. See what happens when she moves it. That's cool though. Draw you again. And then I recommend putting this Chrome extension on that allows you to go through videos 1 frame at a time. It's very handy when you're trying to get that correct reference image. I genuinely have no idea what that piece is. So I'm going to ignore it for now. And I'm going to figure out these. So I think these are about 4mm wide. 5mm wide. So that's... See how far up they're going to be. 8. 5mm. Remove this. Remove that. 1, 2. Let's move it 10. It does that beep when it doesn't think something's right, even though it clearly is, which is quite frustrating sometimes. What I'm doing here is just by putting that line through there, it gives me intersects, which I can then draw off. Ooh. Also, I need to add in this one here. Try and do it 45 degrees, which will lock there. Take out these parts. Take out these parts. Again, sometimes if you want, you can leave these bits in. But it depends if you're bothered about how correct your sketches are. It doesn't really matter all that much either way, as long as you can do what you need to do. Right, so what I'm going to do is extrude that, and if you remember, 13mm symmetrical. And what I've done there, just to demo, is I haven't created a new body, so it's joined it all up to the front, so that's all in a single piece now, which is obviously not what we want. So instead, what you want to make sure you remember to do is go from the symmetrical. When you give it an actual real distance, it'll see that those are the same and want to join them up, so you just don't allow it to do it. Create a new body, or create a new component, and then this one here, don't delete, create component if you haven't done it that way. So it's component 3, which is the muzzle. And my first 3 really basic bits. So what I'm going to do next is do this cutout across the top edge, this big long triangular cutout. Now, using the chamfer tool, which is what you would usually use to do something like this, it's unfortunately not very good at doing what I need it to do here, which is basically having one edge out wider than the other. So I'm just trying to think of the best way to do this. There's a couple of methods that you can use. What I'm going to do is create a cutout block, which makes sense from roughly how I'm thinking of doing it. Okay, so I'm going to start at this corner and just go way over the edge here and make a block. I guess the easiest way technically here is to make a rectangle from that corner there. Okay, so then I'm going to extrude this and just give it some width, so it's coming out the middle. So what I want to do is make it the same width, which is 26. This is where maths can often come into play. So I've now got a new block at the top here, which I have made the mistake of joining to the block below it, which is not what I want. So 26 out in one direction, new body. This is going to be a cutting tool. Right, so then I'm going to want to move and rotate this block from this point. I'll start by rotating it around that point to 45 degrees, because I believe it's roughly 45 degrees that I want to cut away at. Let me just take a look at some of these reference pictures where I've seen the cutaway at front. No, it's not 45 degrees, okay, it's much steeper than 45 degrees. So what I'm going to do is just undo that and redo the rotation of this object around this point. Now I don't want to go, actually yes I do, that's a lie. I'm going to figure out what kind of angle I want it. Now obviously you could import this and do some maths, which I may do if I don't like it, but 60 degrees feels about right. Then, I mean technically I didn't need to undo that then. I'm going to rotate again around the same point. So this point is pivoted, which means at this end I can pull the wrong block, move this thing, reset the pivot to be at this point. What I really need to do here, say relative to that, there we go. Because then I can go here and I can cut into it. I can decide how far in I want to cut this. Let's just get rid of the canvas for now. What might be a good idea is to figure out the size of this barrel. So if I figure out the size of the barrel, then the rest of this relative will make sense. So what you might be able to see that I'm doing here is actually creating a piece. I'll just demo it because we'll get there in a minute, and then I'm going to be able to use that to cut out, and then when I apply it to both bodies it'll cut that section out. But for now let's actually just put it back there and just not use it for now. Start with this. Now, do I have a better straight on picture? I don't believe that I do, because there's obviously not very many of these that exists so far. So let's again throw this into Photoshop. Oh, that's the same image. That's because I did the wrong thing. So we know from here to here is 26. And the good thing about doing it like this is that this and this are on the same plane, they're on the same offset plane. So relative to one another, they're still correct. So that there, if we use the length, which you can see across the top here, see how those lengths change. So there's 70, 90, 100, 248. This one here is 112. So then we need to throw in a calculation. 112. So we know that that is 26 millimeters wide. So we divide that by 112, gives us our magic number of that, 0.23. Then if I times that by whatever number this is, 58, times by 58 gives me 13.4. So that means my barrel, the chamber here is 13.4. Let's call it 14. Which would make sense because it's a 9mm pistol, which means that there, which is 33. So if I divide it by 58 again and times by 33, 7.6. Okay, so I'm a little bit shy because assuming that this is a correct 9mm pistol, that's what we could have done actually here. Which means, because in a 9mm gun, the bullets are 9mm wide. So that length there is, okay, 36. Divided by 33 times 36. 8.3. So I'm pretty close based on my 26 estimation. So it might mean my 26 is a little bit out, but that's fine. That's easy enough to change. So let's assume that that is 9. That 36 is 9, which would make sense. So 36 divided by 9 for 4 is my magic number. So this is exactly 1 to 4 relationship. That can't be right. 36 divided by 9. Oh yes, of course, okay. 36 divided by 9. So all I can do is take any number here and divide it by 4. So 112. Well, I already know that's 28. So my width should be 28, not 26. Fine, that's good. And then this here will be 58. 58 divided by 4, 14 and a half. So 14 and a half, 15. And then I can ballpark using the same, if I extend this out to where it would be at the front. Actually, it's easier if we go this way. To about here. The scale's going to be not quite right because of the perspective, but it'll be pretty close. So 58 again, so that's 14.5. So okay, 14.5. So let's go back to our design. First, we know now that it needs to be 28mm wide, so each one of these can be expanded by 1mm. So that's why I said it's not really a big deal. So I'm doing an extrusion on each one of 1mm, because I was doing 26, so it needs 1mm more on each side to make it 28, which is fine. So then we realised I'm 14.5 down here, 14.5, then there'll be 2, that'll be 1 9mm, 1 14.5mm. That's roughly my muzzle here. Now it does go in as well as coming out. I'm not going to worry about that too much so far. I just want the sketch. We've got this piece here, which will go to the same. So 78. So divided by 4, 19.5. So is that on the... Is that on the point where it starts to shift? No, it's above it. Okay. This is fine. This is fine. Just need to make adjustments as you go. I'll just... Oh, yeah. No, actually. So the cutaway is here. Which is here, not here. That's fine. So it is above. It is above that cutaway. I can also estimate, based on this, that cutaway, especially this point here, 188. Come on. 188. So 47. So 47 is how far? So you see, I'm actually pretty close here. That's good. I'm okay with that. I'm going to leave that as it is for now. So 19.5 brought us to here. That seems a long way. It's right at... Oh no. I think my cutoff here is too high. That bit there lines up with this bit here, which is actually not where it cuts back. It actually cuts back here. So this is why using the sketches is good, because now we can go back to this sketch. Stop the one we're currently working on. Go back to here. If we make any changes to this sketch, they'll then apply to the design. So I want to shift this down. Just going to move it way down, just out of the way for now. Stop that sketch and go back and see if that's applied to the model. So it just live updates it. Now, I'm going to put this here, but this feels like it's wrong. 79, yeah, it's 19.5. So what 78 is. And this has a width of 28, so that's 7. Let's go back to everything, sketch 5. Okay. And then the inside would be 12, so 3. And then we can estimate the width of all this around here. 10. I could go as far as saying that's 12, which would give me a 3mm width, which I'm okay with. So now what I want to do is say that's 66 down, and that's 36 in. So 66 down is 16 and a half. So 16.5 down, and this I said was 36, so that's 8. So I just want to do this on the other side actually. Let's get rid of this. 16.5. 8. And I've actually just realised what I can do. I believe what I can do is create a thing called a loft from a side to a point. It's not something I ever really do. Let me just test it. So I can go from there, create a loft, which basically goes from point A to point B. Point B is usually, it wants to be that point. Maybe you cannot do it as I expected. I was sure you could do it to a point as opposed to just a side. I'm sure I've seen that done before. Maybe not. Okay. What I am going to do though is just leave that bit there for now. So I'm going to use that as a cutout. In fact, no, I'll do it. So from that, I'm going to go into the patch workspace, which allow me to create an extrusion, but from a line like that, as opposed to a body. Usually you have to do this as a body. Now it's actually done all of them. No, it's doing all of them. Okay, let's get rid of those bad boys. There we go, that's better. There probably is a better way of doing this. I'll be perfectly honest. I'm sure you could go from a point to an edge. Let me just try something in the modelling environment here. Point selected. Point, so I've got a point, it's an unselected thing just to make sure. I've got point selected, I've got a face selected. If I create a loft, is it between those two pieces? Can I add another rail of this? No. Well, that's disappointing. I was sure that you could do it to a point. I'm sure I've or to an edge. I'm sure I've done it before. What happens if I do this though? Let's try connecting on this side. I basically mark out all 3 edges. So stop that sketch. And on the top, go from there to there. So that's the piece I want to cut out. So create a loft from that edge and then add all these 3 as rails. Nah fam. It's not gonna like that at all. Just gonna add one more here for look. Stop sketch. Create loft. So a lot of this is just, a lot of it's not knowing what the fuck you're doing, and kind of figuring it out as you go. No. So mean. Well, let me cut that away. There is bound to be a better way than the way I was going to do it. So the way I was going to do it was to take this body, rotate it, and then basically kick it in from the other end. But there's got to be a way to be able to accurately just delete these sections from here. Maybe I'll just keep thinking about it as I design the front of the rest of this muzzle. So I'm just going to stick on the muzzle for now. So this piece, and get it roughly how I want it, and then I'll figure out that cutout, that technical cutout piece, if I suddenly think of a good way of doing it. I am trying to keep an eye on the chat as well as I go here, so if you do have any questions or you want to know anything about what I'm doing, just please do let me know. Ooh, a bunch of Facebook notifications, it's all just the same stuff. Yes, so today's been a good day because if you haven't seen, I got my Ace of Spades prop finished today, which I'm very proud of. It looks like this. I went out to a local skate park and took a bunch of photographs in the very cyberpunk aesthetic. Yeah, happy. Right, so I decided earlier this was going to be a 3mm outer edge. So what I can do is go back onto creating this front panel. If you start to draw a line off a line in Fusion, it'll automatically give you right angles and stuff like that, which is really useful. And things will generally try to parallel themselves up. But that system-wise is the most annoying thing. So a lot of it, I tend to just overextend lines where I probably don't need to. But I think it's just force of habit of just drawing things in and then just deleting things where necessary. I can hide the canvas for now because I don't need it right this second. So I've got this cutaway across the top. I've got a vertical line here, which means I can take these two lines, which I know to be okay. I wasn't sure if I had them as one line or two, and I haven't saved this yet, so I should probably make sure I do that because I have had them fail in the past. Cosplay designs. Oh, it's going to be a whole new folder of Cyberpunk 2077. Let's go in there, and Militech, military technology. Militech 9mm. Version 1. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is take these lines here and reproduce them on the other side. So sketch, mirror. So I've got those two lines on the mirror plane there and there, so I've got them on the other side. Now there's a thing here, you'll see all these little things, here. That means that this mirror plane is joining the two things. So if you make a change to one, it changes to the other, which is really useful. But in this case, I don't really need it. So you can delete those, and you'll see the joins that they're referring to. They'll get deleted at the same time. So underneath, I think I've got flat under the bottom and then up slightly at an angle. And then there's a slight vertical kind of join in between these two pipes. Let's go back to this reference here. So this piece, I believe, is like a vertical bit, which should be roughly 21, 22 over 5, so it should be about 4 millimeters. But it's not, you see. This is why I confused myself earlier. So there to there is 76. 76. How long is this? Point A, yeah, to point B, 8. But that is, this is kooky. Maybe it's the perspective. So based on this, that, this is what I should have done. So we said 36 here is 9 millimeters. That there is 58. That one there is 69. Okay, so the perspective has actually thrown a lot extra into this. A lot extra. 68 versus 58, or 60, 58. So what percentage larger is this? There's a lot of maths that can come into these designs. So 68 divided by 58. So it's 17% larger. In the drawing, which means I need to reduce any measurement done that side by 58 divided by 68 is 85, so 15%, and it's 15% less on the height. So if 58 divided by 4 is 14.5, yes, that's right, because that's the outside diameter of here. 14.5, it's just there. 68 times by 85 times by 0.85 even takes 15% off, which is 58, and then I can divide that by 4. So any number I'm going on the vertical, so from here to here, or here to there, is 78. So then 78 divided by, so, I don't know why you keep doing that, Google. 78 divided by 0.85 and divided by 4 is 23. So that's actually 23. Not 19.5. That's... What did I do wrong there? 78 get the right application on it. 78 I did divided by times 0.85. I made it 15% larger. Okay, divided by 4, 16.5. Okay, that seems better. So 16.5. That looks more like it. Okay, that's good. And there's a thin strip between these two things. So I'm going to go just create a rectangular box from the center here. So 8 should cover it that way, and go for 2 millimeters wide. just get rid of these bits because I don't really need them. So yeah, if you I've got a feeling they're too wide, but it's really hard to tell. Let's no, that doesn't want to move because these are locked angles. So you need to remove the constraints often before you can. Just move it in by 0.5. How is that? Is that an optical illusion? That it's actually straight, but it doesn't look straight? No. For some reason it is cocked itself in. Okay. So if I go for 1mm wide as opposed to 2, get rid of that. Let's just leave those extra bits in. So then I can cut out most of the shape around it, and I believe this cutout goes all the way down the middle. Let's just refer back to, yeah, so that cutaway there goes all the way down the center. Oh, that's good. Okay, so we can see here that this comes out further. So I'm going to start just by dragging this out a bit and just give it some depth. It's just 3. It doesn't really matter at this point. Body. Same with this one. This one, as we can see, comes out less far. So just one. Okie doke. That's good. So then I'm going to put this shape in around the edge. So I've got the 2 parts that are going vertically here. So this is part of the cutout going inwards. And assuming that that is the same distance there, which it seems to be, it needs to stop at the point where this is 3mm, because that's 3mm is what I've done throughout. So let's go in for 3. Okay. If I go in for 3, and vertically down, that is the point there where this is 3mm. I've done this or this, and that. And then I can see how that was 0.6 degrees then? You might not have noticed, but the angle said 0.6 degrees. Don't want that. You want to make sure you've got nice, round, straight numbers where possible. Right, okay. Let's just try these up. Don't actually need these parts. I only really needed those constraints, and just needed to know where this point was. So then it's going to come down in. So again, our measurements can come in Actually, it lines up with the bottom of this. So let's start by doing that. I mean, it looks pretty much 45 degrees. Actually comes down a bit first. It comes down that far, which is 12. So 85% of 12 times 0.85 divided by 4 is 2.5. So it comes down 2.5. 2.5. And then that distance there, that's a good one to use. Because larger distances are better because the margin of errors are smaller. So 54. Because if you're trying to take 10% of 5,000, it's only a small number. 5% of 5 is a much smaller number. So 54 divided by 4 is 13.5. So divide that by 2, 7.75. Just check my maths. 6.75. Okay. It's late. 6.75 is perfectly good. So it's not 90 degrees. There we go. That 2.5. Okay, then vertically we need to drop. Is it until the middle of that? I just want to check another reference image. What else can I see? I might not have any good images for this. I mean, definitely. I think actually it doesn't drop inwards. It just curves inwards, then goes straight down. So that's actually not too bad. So it goes down here. Oh, maybe it's actually 2 right angles, right? But it looks a bit like a curve. So straight down for 36. 36 times 0.85 4, 7.75. Gets us to that. Let's do the same on the other side. You could just do this on one side and then mirror it. I find though if you're building something like this, it's sometimes a bit easier just to do it as you go. This distance here is going to be 16, 17, so 4. So there's going to be a 2 centimeter so 4. Let's just do that. Just so I know that there's a block there. Let's get rid of these constraints. So that's going to be just underneath. So the extra distance here to the bottom is 30. You can see now why it can take so long to make these props. I wonder what was wrong there. Just figuring this stuff out. 6.4. Just figuring this stuff out just can take forever. But you know, when you get really good results, it becomes worth it. So swings and roundabouts. I should just check in on here. Oh. So down by 19. 1.85. 4. And then however far in that is 4, 6, 1.5. It's 4. 1.5. And there's my points. Bam, bam, bam. These. Yes. I'm fortunate that I have a good memory for numbers, so I can very often put in one set of digits and just remember what they all are. It's something I think you pick up more as you do this kind of stuff, but right. And I'm just going to extend these down off the bottom. Just join them up. Doesn't matter if it's not straight, it's only going to be used to cut out the middle. Okay, so now I have that inside shape. Now is the top of it curved here? I would say yes, ever so slightly, but in the fact that the rest of this is all not curved, it's like angled curves. I'm going to do the same here. Let's put this in by 2.5 and just reduce this to 0.4. Let's maintain the angle. Ooh, heck. I think that's 2. No, that's fine. So again, 2.5 in, 0.5 along here. What? No, I'll do 1.5. Join them up. Let's take out all this that we don't need. So what I can technically do now, if I stop that sketch, grab all of these, now I can cut into it, like so. The question is, how far do I want to go? Now this, let me see where it goes across the bottom. Okay, so it stops at the point where the first one of these is. So I can actually just set it to go to that wall there, and it'll stop as soon as it hits that first wall. Okay, right. Based on that, I can see that I want to bring this out a bit more. Bring this one out a bit more. So I just increase those out by 1mm each. So these kind of cutaway shapes here are going to be interesting problems. I'm going to check what's going on here. Lots of questions, so I'll get back to that. Right, there's the two hole things at the front, these two, they look not straight in, they're kind of curved in like reverse rivet holes. There's a bunch of ways of doing that. I'm going to use one of my favourite. Actually, let's use the width because it's an easier sim. 3.5. So they're 3.5 millimeters high, and they're around here. So let's just get them on 3.5. Let's figure out whereabouts I want it. I think that's good. So what I'm going to do now is actually create a body inwards at the depth I want, which is usually around 1mm for this, and create a new body. Then hide this big body, which is the muzzle. And because I don't want it to be perfectly domed, what I'm going to do is just hide my sketches 1 second. Fillet. So the fillet tool is here. I press F, which is what I do. Quick fillet. If you give it 1, that'll keep a slightly flat bottom, which is more like what I want. And then create a mirror of this body. Oh, selected the faces body. No, not that body. That one. Mirror plane there. And I've got 2. So now I can bring my muzzle back in. And this is combine, which means add together or take apart from. Do that. Now, do I want to keep these tools? No, because these are in a different vertical plane, so they can be a bit of a pain in the ass to shift about. So I'll just use that to cut those out. I think that looks pretty good. You can see the slight flat bottom underneath them. I think this one's got a filled in thing, so it might be easier just to do a similar thing there, but yeah, okay. So what I'm going to do is fill this thing out. Sometimes getting the right layer is actually more difficult than it should be. Like, I should be just able to just, actually I can just delete that. Was it 3mm? 16.4. And do the same kind of thing here. So find that, backwards by 1, new body, hide the muzzle. Ooh, this is its own body as well. Fillet that by 1. Yeah, that's fine. modify that, take away that. So you can either cut, join. Insect's quite good. Insect finds where two things overlap. Really useful. There's a slight, I'd say there's a slight outside curve on all of these, which makes sense. Usually these kind of things aren't really sharp edged. So you might want to fill it that by like 0.4. No, it's too much. 2, yeah. Same here, there and there. Fill it by 0.2. Just take that edge off. Now, pretty soon I'm going to have to make sure these are all in the right components. But we'll get to that shortly. In a minute I'm going to have to start figuring out these things, which is why a point loft would be really useful. If it's not something that exists Fusion, I definitely recommend thinking about implementing it. Okay, so let's bring the sketch back in. Because if I could go from there, let's see what Google says about it. Fusion 360 loft to point. Loft to point. So, seems like there is a way of doing something. Let's just see what this says. Okay, so we're creating an offset plane. It's fine. Moving the offset plane. Create sketch on there. Stop sketch. What did you create there? You created a point. Loft. Sketch. Point. See, that's what I think I should be able to do. Okay. I mean, then it looks like it should be possible. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I've done it before. Maybe if I hide the muzzle, let's go in all these, because these were clutching at straw lines here. Don't really need anything, right? And let's just hide the chamber for now. Create loft from here to here. Oh! Oh! Great. Does work then. Perfect. So that's a new body. Then I can create the mirror of that body. Again on that plane, so I've got the two. Bring the chamber and the muzzle back in. Modify this one. Ooh. And remove these two bodies from it. But keep the tools because I want to use them again. And then modify this and take away these two bodies from it. This time we can get rid of the tools because we don't need them. Ta-da! Yes! Perfect. Save. Great. That's good. Oh, I'm much happier now. I know that's going to work. So I can start to do similar things here. For example, I'll probably join this line to this line as a loft, and that should take away the front panel, he says. So I've got, no, I haven't got that line drawn in, so I need to, this kick in here, just have a look at a couple of other reference images. So that kicks in, then goes down, and then this bit goes, but if that bit's vertical, is that bit vertical wider? I think it's a little bit wider. So this bit here is wider than this bit here. That makes sense that that would go outwards ever so slightly here. So, back to maths class. So, let's go down this outside edge. So I'd say that's in line with the middle of that. But I wouldn't say it is on the other side. Okay, so based... so slightly above it. So slightly above the center. Yeah. This is about there. Which is 0.5. So if I just do that, 0.6. I'm going to get rid of this. So they're my two intersect points. That's where that is. Then it comes in by 16, so 4 comes in by 4 and goes down by 27. So 27 times by 0.85. It's 5.7. So 5.6. So in by 4. In by 4. Down by 5.6. Bam, bam. In by 4. Down by 5.6. Which is roughly in line with this bottom here, which is good because that looks about right. And down by another 28, so 7. And then it needs to come in. No. Okay, so this comes straight down, and this technically goes out. So really, it's actually a really complex shape. So what I've just drawn the down line is here. So this needs to be done in two parts. I can do the in bit first and then cut out this section, and then the other bit will be drawn behind it. So I'll do the in bit first. So it's going to come whatever distance, that's the straight line to there. So basically whatever distance that is. 22, 5.5, 5.5. So that's 5.5. Then I need to just figure out this bit here. Oh no, I think I might have gone a bit long there. Oh no, where have I gone? Oh, I've clicked undo and now everything's gone away. Let's just try that again, because I think 5.5 is too big. One to there. So I originally did 22. No, fine, okay. And then this distance is 12, so 3. Okay, so that gives me this piece here and here. This bit will be the join of this lower piece. So now I can make, okay. Now what I can do is take out the lower piece. So I'm just going to entirely remove that. Maybe I'm not. Sketch 4. Let's stop the sketch. That was already showing. No. I'm just going to remove this thing entirely because it's throwing me. I'm not going to worry about it. Stop that sketch. So there, dropping vertically is 20. And let's say that's the same on both sides. So 5 and 5. There is some method to this madness, I swear. So down by 5. And then to the very bottom of this bit, which is 70, 35, 17.5. Which seems very long. Five to there. That's what I mean. Seems about right. Maths doesn't lie. Maybe my calculations here were off, which is fine. That does happen. Let's just continue going with it. 17.5 and then the full length. Hold up. Hold up. I haven't done my vertical adjustment. So whereas that's 20, that was 20 because that became 5. I forgot to take off the 15%. 20 times by 0.85 is 4.25, so this is actually 4.25. And then, so it was 66 times by 0.85 divided by 4, so 13, so big difference there, 13.2, 13 is fine, which actually gets me a lot closer. So there's the 4.25 square there, and the 4.25 square there, which is going to like cut away into it at an angle. Well, they seem a lot thinner, but that is 12. But there is 3, which is correct. That's, I guess once it's cut at an angle, it will be longer and thinner because of angles. The question is going to be how far in back relative is this cut? So that's going to be one of the next parts to do. And this bit here comes outwards slightly, which is from that point there, comes to here. So from here, we need to go out ever so slightly. And then we need to come down. So this doesn't actually go there and then here, because this is, you've got to consider the relativeness of the angle. So that's 17 down. 17 times 0.85. So 3.6 down. And then, so it'll actually be kind of like here. It's not very far at all. Not that far. 5. 1.25, 1.5 millimeters, something like that. 1.2. So that goes to there, and then that drops vertically until it is 50 times 0.8. 50 times 0.85 divided by 4 is 10.6. So go down here, 10.6. Boom. Boom, boom. So that gives us this point, and then we know that this is a curve here, which goes from here. Maria's watching Critical Role downstairs on the big screen, and they're just about to take on can't think of his name. Well, I guess we should make an example out of you. Him. Lorenzo. Just heard the name being said. So that should give me a remainder of this. 22. 22 times 0.85. 4.6. I mean, that looks more like it. So then, so this is the bit where I will want to use the mirror, because otherwise reproducing curves can be a bit of a bugger. I'm just going to join these up. So this was down 3.6, out 1.2, and we go from there to there to there. Let's remove some of these lines we don't need. Don't need this one. This one. I'll use. So this is the section now, this whole bit here goes backwards. And there is another line to consider which goes from basically this point to this point. It does that on both sides. So the bit that goes backwards is actually here. So that bit. I don't need this, I don't know where that's come from. Okay, one thing I can do first though is, I don't think it comes back out again. No. So, remove this line, all of this. Oh! It's not joined to this side really. There we go. Cut that away. I've only got one side. So that's that bit taken care of. Then these two pieces. Just check. Okay. So I've got to kind of make a best guess here, really. 3. Let's go for -3 to start with. I can adjust if needs be, but that feels about right. Then I should be able to create a loft. Let's get rid of these sketches. From, oh, no. No. I need the sketches. From, I don't want all the points though, I just want the line. Oh, no, because if I break that line, which is what the sketch is dependent on, it's going to fuck up. Okay, actually, let's hide that sketch. Let's make a whole new sketch. Let's do that, yeah. Okay, so now I am selecting just that line and just that line. So I've got the two lines I want. See if that'll work. Create loft. Actually, I don't want that line, do I? I want this face. From that face to that line. There are a bunch of ways of doing this, and I'm just trying to figure out which is the best one. Basically, I just need to cut away the stuff that I don't need. And I would have thought, again, that the selection, the rail selection, would allow me to do what I wanted. I would think I could go, basically, use this as one plane, so create a loft from there, and attach it. Oh, hold up, I just do those two. Of course. It's the same thing. Yeah. Create loft from the bottom. Find a way in behind my own sketch. From there to there. Yeah, great. And then similarly, from there to there. It gives me these cutouts, which is what I want. So, I mean, it's early, but you can start to see how this kind of stuff comes together. How long have I been going now? A couple of hours? Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I started at 8, so it's 10. So I think I might call it there for now. But what I've got to do next is, you know, combine these things, make sure that they're in the right combination together. And just keep working away at it, keep building it up like this. Then I need to start thinking about how I actually think about these as created pieces. So which way they're going to print. For example, this will print best on its back. So how can you avoid using supports and stuff like that? So that comes into consideration. Also, this is a gun, right? So there's this bit here, which I don't seem to be able to select for some reason. Just the whole thing. Oh, it's because these are not part of the same body, so combine these to start with. Cancel. This body, this body, this body. Combine them all together. So now it's one thing, so that I can select that. So for example, that will cut out all of that there. And then we might want to start thinking about how to put a spiral inside this, which you can do with threading, but we'll get to that in the next part. So I'm going to stream all of the work I do end to end on this gun, so you can see how the entire thing is constructed from the very beginning to the very end. I'll probably be doing it in 2-hour slots, and I expect it's probably going to take someone between 20 and 30 hours, so there'll be plenty to see and learn along the way. But that's step one for now, starting on the muzzle. If you've got any questions, you can feel free to ask them, and I'll do the best I can to answer. Otherwise, I'll be around next time. Thanks very much for joining, and see you soon. Over, out.